back. Good morning. Grand Rising, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. We are back. So I'm sad that the live got cut off and I didn't get to save it because I shared some beautiful testimony this morning. So I just wanted to kind of recap a little bit of what we did. I took everyone on a ride this morning. Grand Rising. And we went to, we drove through the city. I showed them my New York. We saw we drove through Midtown, the Garment District, the Theater District, Port Authority, New York Times. And we were talking about distractions. I was sharing my story of New York, my New York, what New York has given me, taken from me. And then I decided to take us for a walk today, and we went into Central Park and discovered some things, went on a mini adventure, and then a girl was almost attacked by dogs just now, and they don't know that I am hija de Ogun. There was this one dog that was like growling at me. Is that T? I know that logo. Yo, T, this dog stepped up to me and was growling like they were gonna attack and was about this far away from my calf. And I just stood there and I was like, do you not know who I am? That's what I was saying. Do you not know who I am? I am the daughter. And then I could feel the dog kind of like settle into its body. But the dog came up to me like ready for a brawl. And then, thank you. Yes, yo. These dogs. I ended up being like surrounded by Mafefunogun. Yo, life is funny, yo. What are the chances that we're going for a drive and then I'm like, you know what? Let's go to Central Park and let's go for a walk. And I'm thinking we are going to escape the noise. We are going to intentionally set out to find some peace. But what happens when the distractions and the noise and the chaos follow and threaten your peace? Because these dogs were like ready for a beef. And I'm like, now you playing. And the owner says, I'm so sorry. My dog never does that. It's like my dog got spooked. I'm like, your dog should be spooked. I wanted to say your dog should be spooked. And then she walked away, you know, and then the dog came back and the dog was docile. Like came up to me and was sniffing me. And she's like, como que te perro te cogido a ti hoy. And I just like, kind of like, they didn't say that in Spanish, but you know, she was like, wow, the dog really likes you. I'm like, the dog should fear me, actually. But then the phone died, right, as we're reading that excerpt. And I laughed. I laughed because that's the test. The test is, the message is, how do we hold on to our peace amidst all of these distractions and noise and cars honking, people fighting, certain scents? You know? And so it's funny because I also didn't know where I was going, right? So I was like, damn, where am I? Like, I didn't know where I was in the park, you know, because I had gone up all these stairs and I'd gone deep and I'd gone around and I'd gotten to this place and I was like, I don't even know where the fuck I am. And then I just kept walking and found this like tunnel and just sort of smiled because I felt like all paths will lead you back to where you're supposed to be. All paths will lead you back to where you're supposed to be. All paths will lead you back, and there's nothing to fear, right? Because some people where I was walking would have been afraid because there was no one. where I was, and in this tunnel. And all paths lead you back to where you're supposed to be, where you're meant to be. And then I walked past this little park, and then I saw these other stairs, and I'm like, well, let me go up these stairs. And boom, my car. Let's get into this reading. Let's get into this reading. 145. Mutuality, the heart of love. True giving is a thoroughly joyous thing to do. We experience happiness when we form the intention to give in the actual act of giving. When we form the intention to give in the actual act of giving and in the recollection of the fact that we have given. Generosity is a celebration. When we give something to someone, we feel connected to them, and our commitment to the path of peace and awareness deepens. Sharon Salzberg. Love allows us to enter paradise. Still, many of us wait outside the gates, unable to cross the threshold, unable to leave behind all the stuff we have accumulated that gets in the way of love. If we have not been guided on love's path for most of our lives, we usually do not know how to begin loving or what we should do and how we should act. Much of the despair young people feel about love comes from their belief that they are doing everything right, or that they have done everything right and love still is not happening. Their efforts to love and be loved just produce stress, strife, and perpetual discontent. In my 20s and early 30s, I was confident I knew what love was all about. Yet every time I fell in love, I found myself in pain. The two most intense partnerships of my life were both with men who are adult children of alcoholic fathers. Neither has memories of interacting positively with his father. Both were raised by divorced working mothers who never married again. They were similar in temperament to my dad. Quiet, hardworking, and emotionally withholding. I can remember when I took the first man home. My sisters were shocked that he was, in their eyes, so much like Daddy. And you've always hated Daddy. At the time, I thought this was ridiculous. Both the notion I hated Dad and the idea that my chosen life partner was in any way like him. No way. After 15 years with this partner, I realized not only how much he was like Dad, I also came face to face with my desperate longing to get the love from him I had not gotten from my father. I wanted him to become both the loving dad and loving partner, thereby offering me a space of healing. I felt that. In my fantasy, if he would just love me, give me all the care I had not gotten as a child, it would mend my broken spirit, and I would be able to trust and love again. He was unable to do this. He had never been schooled in the way of love, groping in the shadows of love as much as I was. Together we made serious mistakes. He wanted from me the unconditional love and service his mother had always given him, without expecting anything in return. Constantly frustrated by his indifference to the needs of others and his smug conviction that this was the way life should be, I tried to do the emotional work for both of us. Remind me to come back to page 148. Needless to say, I did not get the love I longed for. I did not get to remain in a familial place of struggle. We were engaged in a private gender war. In this battle, I fought to destroy the Mars and Venus model so we could break from preconceived ideas about gender roles and be true to our inner longings. He remained wedded to a paradigm of sexual difference that had its roots the assumption that men are inherently different from women with different emotional needs and longings. In his mind, my problem was my refusal to accept these natural roles. That just made me nauseous. Like many liberal men in the age of feminism, he believed women should have equal access to jobs and be given equal pay. But when it came to matters of home and heart, he still believed caregiving was the female role. Like many men, he wanted a woman to be just like his mama, so that he did not have to do the work of growing up. He was the type of man described by psychologist Dan Kiley in his groundbreaking work, The Peter Pan Syndrome. Men who have never grown up. Damn. Published in the early 80s, The Jacket noted that this book was about a serious social psychological phenomenon Published in the early 80s, The Jacket noted that this book was about a serious social psychological phenomenon besetting American males, their refusal to become men. That part. Though they have reached adult age, they are unable to face adult feelings with responsibilities, out of touch with their true emotions, afraid to depend on even those closest to them, self-centered and narcissistic. They hide behind masks of normalcy while feeling empty and lonely inside. This new generation of American men had experienced the feminist cultural revolution. Many of them had been raised in homes where fathers were not present. They were more than happy when feminist thinkers told them that they did not need to be macho men, but the only alternative to not turning into a conventional macho man was to not become a man at all, to remain a boy. By choosing to remain boys, they did not have to undergo the pain of severing the too tight bonds with mothers who had smothered them with unconditional care. They could just find women to care for them in the same way that their moms had. When women failed to be like mom, they acted out. Initially, as a young militant feminist, I was thrilled to find a man who was not into being the patriarch. And even the task of dragging him, kicking and screaming into adulthood seemed worthwhile. In the end, I believed I would have an equal partner, love between peers. But the price I paid for wanting him to become an adult was that he traded in his boyish playfulness and became the macho man I had never wanted to be with. I was the target of his aggression, blamed for cajoling him into leaving boyhood behind, and blamed for his fears that he was not up to the task of being a man. By the time our relationship ended, I had blossomed into a fully self-actualized feminist woman, but I had almost lost my faith in the transformative power of love. My heart was broken. I left the relationship fearful that our culture was not yet ready to affirm mutual love between free women and free men. We gotta stop. We gotta stop there because we can't just read past that. We gotta process that. What did you hear? What did you hear? What did you hear? What did you receive? What did you hear? I'm gonna go back. What I say, page 148? Let me go back. I can remember when I took the first man home. My sisters were shocked that he was in their eyes so much like Daddy. And you have always hated Daddy. I wanted him. I also came face to face with my desperate longing to get the love from him I had not gotten from my father. Let's flip that if we're queer. I also came face to face with my desperate longing to get the love from her that I had not gotten from my father. I also came face to face with my desperate longing to get the love from them I had not gotten from my father. I also came face to face with my desperate longing to get the love from her, him, they, them I had not gotten from my mother. I received my story that I'm on the right path since I started Achenia. Maria, facing reality that the lack of parental love has forced me to look elsewhere. We have to understand that we are to love ourselves. If we are to love ourselves, we have to be the mirror image of what we want, Ache. Filling voids, yes. I love my dad, though. He's a good man. The love I did not get from my mom. Because we in this together, yo. That whole part, yo. Let's keep going. Let's see. In my fantasy, if he would just love me, if they would just love me, if she would just love me, give me all the care I had not gotten as a child, it would mend my broken spirit and I would be able to trust and love again. Do you understand? Do we understand? Can we understand together that when we place that responsibility for people outside of us to love us the way we weren't loved, that's where we miss the mark? They could never fill that void. They can never be what we want so desperately, what we wish that we had received. That is why our relationships they feel unequal. They feel unequal because they are unequal, because it's a lot to put on someone. It's a lot of pressure. There's a book I love. One of my favorite books is called Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And Don Miguel Ruiz is from like the Toltec tradition, indigenous traditions, and he tells this story. I actually quote the story in my memoir because it's one of my favorite stories about love. And in it, I wish I had it in front of me so I could read it to you because it's such a beautiful story. Remind me to read it, to read The Mastery of Love. Remind me, write that down. Someone DM me The Mastery of Love so I can put it in my pile of books for us to read together. But the story was about this man who meets this woman. And they both have this idea of love. They both decide that they don't want to be with anybody, that they want to focus on I'm totally paraphrasing, but the whole story is about them having this similar idea of love, and that is that you're going to work on your shit, I'm going to work on my shit, and when we come together, we can just be love. You do you, I'm going to do me, right? And when we're together, like we have the same, we are not dependent on each other to give us love, to fill voids, because we don't believe in love. They didn't believe in love. That's what it was. They didn't believe in love. They didn't believe in love. They believed in sharing of experiences and time, and it was beautiful. And one day, he stepped to her and gave her. He said the stars were coming down into his hand when he was with her. And he said, here, I want to give you this. And in that action of giving her this star, he was giving her all his love. Because he was so grateful. Here, I'm giving you all of me. I'm giving you all my love. I'm making you here. I'm making you responsible for this good feeling that I'm feeling here. And she dropped it, and it shattered in a million pieces. And he was broken. He was fucking devastated because he's like, I'm out here. I'm putting myself out here, putting my love out on the line. I'm giving you all of me. And she let it shatter, and she said, but we didn't believe in love, right? Like didn't we agree that we weren't going to make each other responsible we were just going to show up as we are? That's too much for you to give me. That's too much for you to make me responsible for like to be your everything. I'm not trying to be your everything. And I think that is the problem when we try to make our partner or our person or our potential whatever our everything, that we lose everything. Making someone responsible to give us what we didn't receive is unfair. And it's not their job. It's not their fucking job, yo. It's not their job, yo. Now let's not ignore the fact that he wanted all this unconditional love and wanted her to take on all of these like gender roles too. Because he also was looking for a mama. He was also looking for mama's love. And who's trying to be that? Who's trying to be that? I'm just reading the comments. We don't tell others how to love us. Yes, that's the key too. That's the key too, Danny, that we're not doing a good job of communicating our needs, and so we're accepting all kinds of shit. We're just accepting shit without telling people, this is my love language. I need touch, I need time, I need space. My love language is a lot of isolation, a lot of solitude. Because I like to give myself a lot of love. Oh, I love that. Love language are just what we missed in our upbringing. That makes sense. When people fall off of pedestals, it's time to do some inner work. Exactly. Because it's time for us to look inwards. Like, what was it that we were seeing? Because people always show us who they are. Yes, I've always fantasized of this melting together with one person, this becoming all and everything for each other, and I'm now realizing at 20 how unhealthy that truly is. Right, because it's the fantasy. It's the fantasy, Nadine. It's the fantasy. I'm guilty of that too. I know what that is. To fall in love with potential. I've been the queen of that. Falling in love with this person's potential, what I see for them, what I hope for them, but that being just a fucking fantasy, because that's not who the fuck they are. We were engaged in a private gender war. In this battle, I fought to destroy Mars and Venus. He remained wedded to the paradigm of sexual difference. Like many men, he wanted a woman to be just like his mom, so that he would not have to do the work of growing up. Now, she's here talking about a heterosexual relationship, but I would like to offer as a lesbian woman that this applies to our same-sex relationships, right? And the ways in which we take on these gender roles, where someone is doing the heavy lifting and the other one refuses to grow up. So let's take this and apply it to like the relationships that we're living with, because that shit is fucking real and that shit is a problem. Can we all agree to all fucking grow up? Can we all agree to all do the fucking work? Can we all take accountability, hold ourselves accountable for our own shit, the ways we show up, and the healing that we still have yet to do? That's a wonderful place to start, acknowledging our shit, because we're quick to point fingers, but let's look at the ways we fail ourselves. In my second partnership, page 151, in my second partnership with a much younger man, similar power struggles surfaced as he grappled with coming into full adulthood in a society where manhood is always equated with dominance. He was not dominating, but he had to confront a world that saw our relationship solely in terms of power, of who was in charge, whereas some people had often seen my older partner's silence as intimidating and threatening, a sign of his power. My younger partner's silence was usually interpreted as a consequence of my dominance. Initially, I was attracted to this younger partner because his masculinity represented an alternative to the patriarchal norm. Ultimately, however, he did not feel that masculinity affirmed in the larger world and began to rely more on conventional thinking about masculine and feminine roles, allowing sexist socialization to shape his actions. Observing his struggle, I saw how little support men received when they chose to be disloyal to patriarchy. Although these two liberal men were more than 2 generations apart, neither had given the question of love much thought. Despite their support of gender equality in the public sphere, privately deep down, they still saw love as a woman's issue. To them, a relationship was about finding someone to take care of all their needs. In the Mars and Venus gendered universe, men want power and women want emotional attachment and connection. On this planet, nobody really has the opportunity to know love, since it's power and not love. Let me say that again. On this planet, nobody really has the opportunity to know love, since it is power and not love that is the order of the day. The privilege of power is at the heart of the patriarchal thinking. Girls and boys, women and men who have been taught to think this way almost always believe love is not important. Or if it is never as important as being powerful, dominant, and control on top being right. Women who give seemingly selfless adoration and care to the men in their lives appear to be obsessed with love. But in actuality, their actions are often a covert way to hold power. Like their male counterparts, they enter relationships speaking the words of love, even as their actions indicate that maintaining power and control is their primary agenda. This does not mean that care and affection are not present. They are. This is precisely why it is difficult for women, it is so difficult for women and some men to leave relationships where the central dynamic is a struggle for power. The fact that this sadomasochistic power dynamic can and usually does exist with affection, care, tenderness, and loyalty makes it easy for power-driven individuals to deny their agendas even to themselves. Their positive actions give hope and love will prevail. Sadly, love will not prevail in any situation where one party, either female or male, wants to maintain control. My relationships were bittersweet. All the ingredients for love were present, but my partners were not committed to making love the order of the day. When someone has not known love, it is difficult for him to trust that mutual satisfaction and growth can be the primary foundation in a coupling relationship. When someone has not known love, it is difficult for him or her to trust that mutual satisfaction and growth can be the primary foundation in a coupling relationship. When someone has not known love, it is difficult for them to trust that mutual satisfaction and growth can be the primary foundation in a coupling relationship. He may only understand and believe in the dynamics of power, of one up and one down, of a sadomasochistic struggle for domination, and ironically, he may feel safer when he is operating within these paradigms, intimate with betrayal. He may have a phobic fear of trust. Wow. At least when you hold to the dynamics of power, you never have to fear the unknown. You know the rules of the power game. Whatever happens, the outcome can be predicted. The practice of love offers no place of safety. We risk loss, hurt, pain. We risk being acted upon by forces outside our control. When individuals are wounded in the space where they would know love during childhood, that wounding may be so traumatic that any attempt to re-inhabit that space feels utterly unsafe and at times seemingly life-threatening. This is especially the case for males. Females, no matter our childhood traumas, are given cultural support for cultivating an interest in love. While sexist logic underlies this support, it still means that females are much more likely to receive encouragement both to think about love and to value its meaning. Our overt longing for love can be expressed and affirmed. This does not, however, mean that women are more able to love than men. Females are encouraged by patriarchal thinking to believe we should be loving. But this does not mean we are any more emotionally equipped to do the work of love than our male counterparts. Afraid of love, many of us focus more on finding a partner. The widespread success of the books like The Rules, Time-Tested Secrets for Capturing the Heart of Mr. Right, which encourage women to deceive and manipulate to get a partner, express the cynicism of our times. These books validate the old-fashioned sexist notions of sexual difference and encourage women to believe that no relationship between a man and a woman can be based on mutual respect, openness, and caring. When we talked about yesterday our principles of love, what would be our principles of love? Let's add that, right? Based on mutual respect, openness, and caring. The message they give women is that relationships are always and only about power, manipulation, and coercion, about getting someone else to do what you want them to do, even if it is against their will. They teach females how to use feminine wiles to play the game of power. So that's sex appeal, feminine wiles, sex appeal, our body, unbuttoning the shirt, you know. They teach females how to use feminine wiles to play the game of power, but they do not offer guidelines for how to love and be loved. How I need to be loved, how I need to love and be loved, that's our focus. How do I need to be loved by a partner? Much popular self-help literature normalizes sexism rather than linking habits of being usually considered innate to learned behavior that helps maintain and support male domination. They act as though these differences are not value-laden or political, but are rather inherent and mystical. In these books, male inability and or refusal to honestly express feelings is often talked about as a positive masculine virtue women should learn to accept, rather than a learned habit of behavior that creates emotional isolation and alienation. John Gray refers to this as men entering their cave and posits it as a given that a woman who disturbs her man when he wants isolation will be punished. What's that?
I'm waiting for a client.
Oh, you're waiting for a client. Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
that's okay. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye.
He was cute. John Gray refers to this as men entering their cave and posits it as given that a woman who disturbs her man when he wants isolation will be punished. Gray believes that it is female behavior that needs to change. Self-help books that are anti-gender equality often present women's overinvestment in nurturance as a natural, inherent quality rather than a learned approach to caregiving. Much fancy footwork takes place to make it seem that New Age mystical evocations of yin and yang, masculine and feminine, androgyny, and so on are not just the same old sexist stereotypes wrapped in more alluring and seductive packaging. To know love, we must surrender our attachment to sexist thinking in whatever form it takes in our lives. That attachment will always return us to gender conflict, a way of thinking about sex roles that diminishes females and males. That applies to lesbian relationships, gay relationships, trans relationships, everybody. Are we listening? To know love, we must surrender our attachment to sexist thinking in whatever form it takes in our lives. That attachment will always return us to gender conflict, a way of thinking about sex roles. The sex roles, it's the roles. You could be as woke as you want to be and still be sexist in your thinking and how your expectations of what you want. You think your partner should be the one carrying and doing. Like, let's look at even the shit that we do in our house. Who does what? And how we play into that. That conflict, that gender conflict, those gender roles. A way of thinking of sex roles that diminishes females and males. To practice the art of loving, we have to first choose to love. To practice the art of loving, we have to first choose to love. To practice the art of loving, we have to first choose love. To practice the art of loving, we have first to choose love. Admit to ourselves that we want to know love and be loving, even if we do not know what that means. Even if we're redefining it, even if we're just learning it, even if we're just discovering it, right? We're just learning. We're learning. And that's beautiful. One more time. To practice the art of loving, we have first to choose love. Admit to ourselves that we want to know love and be loving, even if we do not know what that means. Yes. 8 more minutes and then I'm going home to shower, eat, and do all these readings that I owe clients, because I want to give them some love today. Oof. To practice the art of loving, we have first to choose love, admit to ourselves that we want to know love, and be loving, even if we do not know what that means. The deeply cynical, who have lost all belief in love's power, have to step blindly out on faith. In the path to love, Deepak Chopra urges us to remember that everything love is meant to do is possible. The aching need created by lack of love can only be fulfilled by learning anew to love and be loved. We all must discover for ourselves that love is a force as real as gravity, and that being upheld in love every day, every hour, every minute is not a fantasy. Oh my God, I want to cry. It is intended as our natural state. Most males are not told that they need to be upheld by love every day. Sexist thinking usually prevents them from acknowledging their longing for love or their acceptance of a female as their guide on love's path. To my men, to my gender non-conforming, to those who identify with that masculine energy, I love you so much. You deserve love. You are worthy of love. I love you. I love you. You deserve love. You deserve to know love. You deserve to have the most beautiful expressions of love. To my men out there, my macho fucking hardcore men, love is a force that you deserve. You deserve all the love. To my men, to my black men, to my Latinos, to my Asian men, to my men of color, you deserve love. You deserve love. You deserve love. You were made from love. You are the greatest expression of love. You are the divine masculine. You are a king. May you know love, yo. Ooh, this chapter. In The Path to Love, Deepak Chopra urges us to remember that everything love is meant to do is possible. Everything love is meant to do is possible. Everything love is meant to do is possible. The aching need created by lack of love can only be filled by learning anew love. Learning anew to love and be loved. May we all be more open to love. We all must discover for ourselves that love is a force as real as gravity, and that being upheld in love every day, every hour, every minute is not a fantasy. It is intended as our natural state. Most males are told that they need to be upheld by love every day. Are not told. Most males are not told. Men are not told. Men, you are not told that you should be upheld by love every day. You should be told you are loved every day. You know what? Real quick, I did not know anything about Nipsey Hussle until he died, until the day he was brutally murdered. And when I went on my obsession to find all the things, Nipsey, his voice, his music, his style, he was love. He was the epitome of love. Gangsters fuck for sure, but he was love. And one of the things I most loved was the fact that he loved the men in his life and said, I love you, and saged his family before leaving. Yo, love to my men. You deserve to be told you are loved every fucking minute of every fucking day. Period. They don't want you to know that you're loved. They don't want you to know that you're loved and you're loved. Even though you make me mad, even though I want to punch you in the face, sometimes, I still love you. Most males are not told that they need to be up. I want to cry. Oh my God. Bell Hooks killed it with this chapter. She killed it. Sexist thinking usually prevents them from acknowledging their longing for love or their acceptance of a female as their guide on love's path. More often than not, females are taught in childhood, either by parental caregivers or the mass media, how to give the basic care that is part of the practice of love. We are shown how to be empathetic, how to nurture, and most important, how to listen. Usually we are not socialized in these practices so that we can be loving or share knowledge of love with men, but rather so that we can be maternal in relation to children. Indeed, most adult females readily abandon their basic understanding of the ways one shows care and respect, important ingredients of love, to re-socialize themselves so that they can unite with patriarchal partners, male or female, who know nothing about love or the basic rudiments of caregiving. A woman who would never submit to a child, calling her abusive names and humiliating her, allows such behavior from a man. The respect women demand and uphold in the maternal-child bond is deemed not important in adult bondings if demanding respect from a man interferes with their desire to get and keep a partner. Few parental caregivers teach their children to lie. Yet continual lying, either through overt deception or withholding, is often deemed acceptable and excusable adult male behavior. Choosing to be honest is the first step in the process of love. There is no practitioner of love who deceives. Oh, I'm gonna leave it there so I can catch my breath, because that whole shit right there took my breath away. Let's breathe. That was a lot. That was beautiful. Let's breathe. We deserve love. We deserve love. That's what we're doing. We're sending high vibrations, yo. Yeah, we are crying, yo. Let us breathe. Let's inhale. Inhale. Let's inhale. Let's put our hand on our heart. Let's receive that, right? Let's receive that. That we are worthy of love. We are worthy of love. We are rewriting. We are rewriting our program. We are rewriting our stories. We are shifting this narrative. We are breaking these trauma bonds. We are committed to our healing. We are committed to loving ourselves. We are committed to loving our community, to loving our people, to being expressions of love in everything we do. And that doesn't mean that we don't slip and we don't go back to those old patterns of not trusting, of closing up, of putting up walls and barriers. Those are things that protect us. We can't allow any old thing in, right? We are learning discernment. We are receiving this information and we are rewriting our love ethic, our principles of love, right? I'm sending you all so much love. I love you. That was amazing. That was a lot. I'll see y'all in the morning, yo. I hope you enjoyed our walk. Do something beautiful for yourself. Take the longer route home. Be with these words. Write new affirmations. Set new intentions. Just believe, man. Just believe. That last part, and we're going to start it tomorrow. Yesterday I had a beautiful live with my daughter before we missed her train. She missed her fucking ride because we were too busy having fun with all of you. But I said that one of the things that I learned, I did a lot of things wrong, and I still do a lot of things wrong. But the one thing I did right was that I was fucking honest. I told the truth. I didn't lie to her. I didn't lie to her. I didn't lie to her about this life. In fact, sometimes I was too motherfucking honest. Sometimes I was too raw, too truthful. And that she might have been too young, and she was too young and ill-equipped to process the shit I was serving, because under the guise of I'm protecting her, if I'm telling her the truth, I'm telling her my dirt, I'm giving her, it was too much for her little body to hold. So we're gonna get into that, right? I love you. Have a beautiful day. Ache, amen, namaste, and so it is. Peace.